Okay, thank you, Brian, for joining to talk to me for a little bit about these sound healing tuning forks that I've been using to influence the floral compost activator. And I'm not a sound healer. I purchased these on a whim. I started with Jupiter and then I got the Schumann resonance. And I'm sure they're doing something mysterious and magical. And I would love you to share your views, both for my followers, my audience at Blue Borage, for people that might want to purchase their own tuning forks, but also like we need to come along and experience your actual work and what that is and any insights you have on sound healing for the soil.
Yeah, thanks, Katrina. One of the first things that I would like to say is that for me, and this is one of the reasons why I've been working for such a long time with sound, is that sound is all about vibrations, sound is about frequency, and that is found everywhere. Nature, if you actually um, plug in certain equipment to plants, you can actually see their frequency or the vibration. You can actually see how they are alive, and that has a certain resonance. And a lot of times, when we understand that when we are sharing different frequencies in different spaces, that has an impact on us. Like, if we walk into an office that everyone is stressed out, we will start to notice that there is something inside of us that starts to actually match the frequency of the space that we are in. The same happens when we go and we do a sound healing, as an example. When we are sharing, regardless of the instrument, all of the research that I have seen has been done with different instruments. So there's no, at the moment, heterogeneous research that can prove this. Yet there's a lot of things that just because we haven't yet prove it scientifically doesn't mean that it doesn't work, because it takes us, thousands of years to be able to reach a conclusion scientifically. When we are able to actually understand that at the same time, when we are going into a stressful environment, we might get that experience and that same frequency, and how that has an impact on our cells, on our mind, on our brainwave. The same can be when we go into a relaxing space. That could be even just going into nature, but with sound, we are specifically bringing in different vibrations, different frequencies to be able to, in a sense, interact with whatever it is that is the subject. That can be a person, that can be plants, that can be animals, that can be compost, that can be anything, because everything is alive on a specific vibration. And when we are able to have an interaction of different vibrations, it's amazing how intelligent all of the cells are and how they start to vibrate with each other, and then they start to actually find the same vibration. Now, as humans, we have the capacity to sometimes block that and stay within our own frequency and not go into what our environment has. So a lot of times when, through the years, I've done like thousands of sound healings, the people that are open and are able to relax and allow the sound frequencies, then they will get the impact of that. They will either find some relaxation, or they will able to start healing different parts of their experience, whether that's physical, emotional, energetical, mental. There's people that if they are closed off, consciously or unconsciously, to allowing that frequency, then they won't get a lot of the benefit. So we need to understand that as humans, we have a little bit more say on this. But as far as I know, when we are sharing sound with animals or with plants, they are so much more receptive that they actually are able to much easily match that frequency. there's a lot of research as well done with water, with both music, sound, words. That is all vibrations. When we understand everything as energy and vibrations and sound waves, we understand that our words are carrying a specific energetic signature. And when in the research of Masoto or a lot of different people that have done these types of research, when they go into those like tubes of water or whatever it is that they are like just testing, and they speak kind words, that is not about just the word itself, it's about the energetic signature vibration that carries. The same with negative ones. So we can see with water easily, and when we start to, expand this, it is easier to start to see how things can have an impact. So, if you are working with essences and you are, trying to bring a different frequency through sound healing, regardless of the instrument, regardless if it's with tuning forks or singing bowls or gongs or even just voice, when we are introducing that to that flower essence, the water, just like all of that research, will start to change its composition. So we need to understand how that can have an impact. And when we actually, like, I can see it a lot of times with like so many of my clients, that when we are able to focus our sound and that vibration going to a specific place in their body, perhaps, like I've done this with people with cancer, I've done this with people with different types of illnesses or sicknesses. When we are targeting that, lots of times, not always, and this is why the research is what it is, that that actually starts to either disappear or starts to heal. So there's an element of understanding how cells or energies, when they vibrate at a certain frequency, they are in what we would call health, and when they are vibrating at another frequency, they are in what we would call sickness. It's not better or worse, or one is good and the other one is bad. It's just different ones, and based on that, what happens depending on the different vibrations of frequencies, then as well, we actually are able to change our brain waves. When we change our brain waves, what happens is that depending on the state that we are, because if we are on beta state most of our waking time, and then we change to alpha or delta or theta or gamma, whatever it is that we're able to reach through the experience, our body starts to change. Because the nervous system changes, we start to activate different capacities that we have, because we have the capacity to heal ourselves. And when we find that right vibration, then that starts to happen. I have seen that in different countries, there's been lately research done on, curing cancer or healing cancer on patients using sound instead of chemotherapy or radiation, as a way of measuring the vibration, the frequency vibration of the cancer cells, and then matching that to, in a sense, dissolve that. So when we're able to understand how much it has, that brainwave modulation, or how that can change in us, and it's just on our brain, but as well then that has an impact on the body, that is part of what we need to see as the importance of working with frequencies. Now, different sounds bring different frequencies, and as well, and this is one of the challenges in research, is that when you play your tuning forks, it's different than when I play my instruments. The person that is playing has an impact on it. Just like in many researches, the person that is, there actually influences. We are bringing certain energy into the space, so therefore, you are bringing something different than what I would bring or anybody else would bring. And when we are more attuned to something specific, like you are with the work that you're doing, you're even going to have most likely a bigger impact on that. So you're changing the cellular composition of your essences or the compost itself, or even the environment where that is happening. And when all of that is starting to change and starts to be in a more coherent frequency, things start to actually be potentially lighter or potentially faster, potentially, you know, um, place that feels safer. This is why a lot of times people, when there's a lot of work on a vibration perspective in a space, when people walk into that space, they can feel it even if they don't know what's going on. So if you have, as an example, in like I'll give the example here on my back garden. Like if I have the environment that is vibrating at a certain frequency, plus the actual plants and the soil vibrating at a specific frequency, this is going to grow significantly different than if I wouldn't have that. I'm here in the middle of the city and I can create a microenvironment that changes what's happening. So when we're able to understand the place that we have on, it's kind of like we see everything as physical, and yet there's an energetic component. And when we start to go into that, we see everything is just vibrations, everything is just vibrating. And when we are able to work with that, it's just a different approach to the same thing. So, if I go to someone and I am, let's say that I'm stressed out or I'm overwhelmed, and I'm trying to talk to them, there's a likelihood that they are not going to respond in the same way that if I am relaxed, that if I'm open, if I am willing to listen to them or to share space with them. So it's the same. We might not think of that as vibration or frequency, but in a sense, it's the same. Sound, what it does is that it is easier to actually experience that. When you share with the tuning forks, you feel the vibration. When I'm sharing with my instruments, people can feel it. Sometimes they feel it through the floor, sometimes they feel it through their body, how it's starting to move. Sometimes they feel it in their heads with all of the sounds. That is the impact that this has. And of course, the more that we do it, the more that we're going to see the benefits or healing or how this is actually supportive of our both environment and our physical environments.
That's wonderful. Thank you. Now, I got the Jupiter initially on a whim. My cat is called Jupiter. I'm, in my Jupiter phase of life, 49 to 56 in the 7-year cycles. Borage, or I'm Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. Borage, my business is ruled by Jupiter. That it just felt like there was all this Jupiter. And I think the symbolism on the website where I ordered it, it was like expansion, success, positivity, abundance. So I thought, I want some of that. And then after using this for almost a year, it kind of felt like things were getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I thought I kind of want to bring it back to earth, but I got the Schumann resonance, and when I first played that and felt it, so I don't like that as much.
Mm,
When I play them together, the chord isn't quite, I don't know. How would you recommend people decide a frequency? How many tuning forks as a layperson should we have? What role does a professional like you play? Like what would it mean for me to come along to one of your sessions? What would I experience? Um, and yeah, what's tuning fork number 3? Someone told me I should get solar plexus, like there are different chakra.
mm,
Um, and also, as a teenager, I played the oboe. So every orchestra practice, I had my A440 tuning fork, and I was tuning the orchestra. And I know after every orchestra practice. Like I'd been worked over energetically. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't like a lot of times I tell the people, like when you listen to an orchestra or just any piece of music, that also has a component. It doesn't need to be necessarily a tuning fork or a gong or an instrument for sound healing. Sound itself has such a big impact. And this is, just changing our mood when we want to potentially be more upbeat and we put some music that we like and brings us up, or if we want to relax and we perhaps put some orchestra music. It depends on our relationship with that music, but it's important. Now, I think that there's a couple of things with what you're sharing about your instruments there, because the there's yes, every single tuning fork or instrument usually is attuned to a specific frequency. Those frequencies are usually related to certain aspects or emotions or qualities, and depending on how we want to relate to them, then what they actually mean. So as you're saying, like there's this Jupiter expansion, that is a frequency. If I don't say Jupiter or expansion and you just play that, it will be the same most likely. Now, saying that, the knowing that that is an expansive quality that can support to be more open to that experience, but it will get it to the same place. Whereas the resonance of the earth, it's a much, much denser quality or vibration than the one as you're having from Jupiter. So there is a part of us as humans that are comfortable with the earth, and there's a part that is not comfortable and it just wants more lightness. It doesn't want so much density. So when we are in this space, a lot of times I see this in the space of healing, people want to feel lighter. They don't want the density. Now, there's nothing wrong with the density. It's just that there's a part of us that is seeking that lightness, that expansion. How do we find sometimes what is needed or what is the balance? Because I said this to a lot of times to a lot of clients. It is nice to feel expansion and to go and like whatever it is that we are experiencing, as we feel that lightness, we live here. We need to be grounded. We need to be, rooted on this earth. And when we find how to feel light as we are rooted on earth, that is a magical place. Now, each of us are unique and individual, and we need to figure it out based on what we are carrying in terms of our energetic signature, what it is that is going to support us. This is why a lot of times it is quite of an intuitive process. What are the instruments that are going to serve us? But as well, if we have some more experience or knowledge within this, it might be easier to, sometimes recommend to someone, oh, this is what you should, like potentially use or explore. Like I'm coming from working with some clients today, and like one of them, as an example, has some like issues with his in his ears with tinnitus. So we're exploring certain frequencies that work for that. Whereas another of my clients that has more issues like on his lower body, then that is going to be a different frequency that we need. So it really depends on what's going on and what is the use that we're wanting to have. So if we're wanting to, explore healing the solar plexus or more of the heart energy, then we would get the vibrations that are in that frequency or the instruments that are related to that. If we are wanting something that is different, then we find out. Like I have a few gongs, for example, like I have one that is um, the the resonance is with Neptune, another one with Mercury, another with the Moon. So it's they are related to the energies of those planets and the qualities that they bring, just as you were saying with Jupiter. Then I have one that is with the energy of the water, one that is with the energy of the universe, that it's going to bring some different qualities. I have other instruments that are with the resonance of the heart or the third eye or of the different chakras. So when I play those, that's going to have a bigger impact on those areas or those qualities. Saying that, I can manipulate that. So I can use just one instrument and I can change the vibration and the frequency of the instrument through my awareness. So sometimes I can use just one singing bowl and I can work with your entire body. It doesn't matter if it was attuned to your heart or another part. So when you're wanting to, find something else or another instrument, it is about first testing if possible, because then you get the experience. So a lot of times I know that nowadays a lot of people buy things online, but if we are able to actually be on a store and actually test and see how we feel and see how they are interacting with the other instruments that we have, that would be the ideal way of deciding what is needed. The other way is deciding what qualities do we want, and then we search the frequencies that are related to those qualities. So, there's different methodologies for that. I am more on the we're all actually quite attuned to what we need. So my way is always empowering people to make the choice for themselves. Yes, I can suggest things. Yes, I can support them in making those decisions. But I I know that everybody has that capacity. Some people need to do some more work to be able to get there, but everyone has the capacity to do that. So, it's about figuring out what is it that you're wanting, and then you use that more. I tell a lot of times to people, if we are practicing, because I teach a lot of different meditation practices and mindfulness practices, we are focusing on gratitude as an example. Eventually, our body is going to start vibrating in the frequency of gratitude. And when we are vibrating in that frequency, then we're going to be magnets for things that are outside of us that are going to show us that frequency. So a lot of times it's important to understand that the world around us responds to the frequency that we have. Just like if we are playing some instruments, then that's going to have an impact on the space around.
That's so great. Thank you. And I think with the Schumann resonance, I was like pulling away from what I wanted for me, and it was like, this is for the compost, this is for the earth, this is a grounding, like the earth itself is wanting that
Mm,
see. And I think what you were also saying about our own inner frequency, it would be perfectly fine for people doing this at home to sing and to use their own voice as an instrument and to use affirmations or positive words, or like I was saying before, karakia or prayer or whatever is in their sort of cultural sphere of programming.
yes. And it makes a difference a lot of times, as I'm saying, the either the intention or the frequency that we're bringing into something, because, I can, for example, going back to gratitude, I can say like, I'm so grateful for this. And if I'm not feeling it, that doesn't matter. Like, it's there's a lot of times I see this the saying fake it till you make it, and I always say be it till you are it. So the more that you're able to bring that frequency, then you're going to be that. And for the compost, the interaction of these different vibrations might be super supportive for all of the soil to be able to actually not only be as you have with the Schumann resonance, which is something that they are more attuned to, and sharing something lighter and more expansive, so that then that has a different type of interaction with the process of composting. So when we're able to actually find the right combination for what we want, then that's going to be really interesting. And as you're saying, just singing. It doesn't need to be, a trained facilitator sharing, something. It can be any person sharing with an instrument and also with their voice.
Mm.
Saying that, as I'm saying, how they are feeling in the moment is going to have a huge impact. So every single time that I'm doing a healing, I know how my energy needs to be in order to share. So if someone is going to work with tuning forks or any instruments or even singing, but they are in a really stressful state or they are overwhelmed, that might not be the best moment to go and do that. So just being aware of that. I mean, there's no perfection, just being aware that perhaps before doing that, if there's a space to create even just, you know, a moment for being mindful and aligning as much as possible to transition from what they were doing into being there with the soil or with the essences to be able to then share that frequency, that is going to have an impact.
Good, 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 good. I think I'm studying Maori weaving, and before we sit down to work, there's a karakia that gets us ready and prepares the space. I didn't want to take up too much time. We're kind of going on over the half hour. Is there anything as a professional that you would like to put to the global biodynamic research community on how sound healing or other work that you do could be used within agriculture?
Yeah, I think
What do
that
you want us to look at?
I think that one of the things is being open to exploring this because I have talked to so many people through the years that see this as such a foreign thing or a little bit too out there. It's sound, it's frequency, it's the building blocks of matter. And when we're able to understand the impact of that, then it's just as important as if you are near a cell tower that has all of that radiation. That is literally vibration. So just the negative impact that that could have on your soil. Imagine the positive impact of sharing a frequency that is more coherent, a frequency that is more aligned to what you're wanting for your soil or for the system, in a farm or even at home that you're wanting to share. So being able to be curious is really important and experiencing, finding whatever it is that you live, finding a sound healer, going for the session, going for a group session, experiencing that, testing how it is that you can actually change your state just by being immersed in those sound frequencies. And then just it's kind of like one plus one is two, then this will have a similar type of impact on the soil. So the more that we're going to actually have through the years, as now we have more and more and more research, then this is allowing more and more people to open up to the importance of this. Just as with other things that I've been teaching for a long time, with mindfulness, there's way more research now with mindfulness and the impact that it has. Well, ancient wisdom has been saying that for thousands of years. But now that there's scientific research proving it, then some people are opening up more to that. So, some of us don't need as much research to be open for certain things, but some of us do. So, you know, curiosity and openness is really important. So just finding anywhere that you are, finding an energy healer or a sound healer, especially, and being able to, experience and then just test. Test what happens. As you have, get some instruments or go and sing and see what happens and see if you notice some changes. You might notice them, you might not really easily, but for a lot of people I know, just like you, Katrina, like you can see the difference. So, it's about just being open and willing to test.
Wonderful, thank you. I need to come along to one of your sessions, and I hope it'll be okay if I bring a little box of worms to sit in the corner and
Yes.
everything as well. All right, we will stop recording there. Do you want to say briefly, website, business, where people can reach you? I don't think we said that at the beginning.
Um, Thank you. Yeah, it's just my name, Brian Berneman, or through Conscious Action. But mostly it's just my name. It's the easiest way to find me, brianberneman.com. And then just see there everything that I do. Luckily, I do a lot of different things because I have a lot of curiosity and a lot of different methods and perspectives. So yeah, and if someone is, here in Auckland, in New Zealand, can come and experience my work, or if someone studies at AUT here at the university, perhaps you are one of my students. So yes, just being, every aspect of my work is going to be there.
Thank you.